Action 11, Kentuckiana's #1 news broadcast, with Jim Mitchell and Kirsty Weil, Dave Conrad with sports, and Chuck Taylor with the weather.
Good evening. I'm Jim Mitchell reporting live from Bardstown High School. Jimmy Carter, with his presidency on the line, has tried to come back to the people with the first of what he said will be many town meetings around the country. He answered questions on energy, on salt, on our relations with our allies and with our adversaries around the world. He took tough questions from many people and sympathetic questions from others. If the president has had enough of the cynical Washington establishment and the skeptical Washington press corps, he must be feeling much more cheerful tonight, because what he received along the streets of Bardstown today was an enthusiastic welcome from cheering people who lined the streets, others who waited outside in 90-degree, 90% humidity weather in order at least to get a glimpse of him. About 2,100 people were able to see him inside. But if the president expected the questions in this community to be a pushover, well, he was wrong there, because they were tough. They asked him, why don't we do more to help Vietnam, especially the refugees? And he said he hopes to do more for Vietnam, but he's concerned about relations between that country and Cambodia, the constant fighting going on there. Why don't we reform welfare? After a big push for his energy program, that was the first question from a lady from Shepherdsville. He said his administration is making every effort to improve the welfare program, make sure that people who can work do, but that those who need help get it. Why don't we do more for our allies? Why didn't we keep the Panama Canal? He said he felt we made the right move in Panama, and giving the canal to Panama for joint trusteeship with the United States until the year 2000 was the wise move. Of course, even the President of the United States had some technical difficulties in this well-orchestrated event, so when a microphone didn't work today, he just invited a young fellow up to use the presidential mic.
Mr. President, my name is Sean Contrell, and I live right here in Bardstown. And what would the circumstances have to be before you ration gas, should Congress give you their permission to do so?
Very good. Thank you. Good question. It will not be implemented. We'll put the rationing plant on the shelf as a standby, but we'll be ready. And if we do have a severe and sustained loss of gasoline, then it will be put into effect. I hope that it will never have to be implemented. And if I do a good job as president, and if we get a good energy program to the Congress that I've described to you in my opening remarks, then we won't have to have gasoline rationing.
So that was one question from one young gentleman who wanted to know what exactly would it take to ration gasoline. Other questions touched on everything from, will the Russians catch us in nuclear weaponry if we go ahead and sign the SALT II treaty, to what about telephone service in Bullitt County? And although the President of the United States might ordinarily not be concerned about phone service in part of Bullitt County, he promised that when he goes back to the White House tomorrow, he will pick up his telephone, call the chairman of the Public Service Commission in the state of Kentucky, and try to get something done. He said he couldn't guarantee that would happen, but he is going to make an effort. The president received, as we said, a tumultuous welcome in Bardstown today as he took a motorcade from the airport, and Bud Harbsmeyer was on 3rd Street in downtown Bardstown for the motorcade.
The president has picked his Kentucky town meeting spot well. Bardstown is Carter country, and they responded well today by giving him a warm and a very friendly welcome. For over a block, he crossed and recrossed the street. Every face and sign along the parade route was friendly. Any enemies the president made by canceling out of his Bardstown trip 3 weeks ago were dispelled by this trip today. The Chamber of Commerce, for example, sold out of the 2,000 Carter buttons they were selling for $1 apiece, and $5 T-shirts with Carter's picture on them were selling well, too. But that's not the surprising thing here, because Carter is popular in Nelson County. Nelson County is heavily Democratic, and 3 years ago gave Carter 65% of the votes cast for president. So it was a friendly crowd that cheered the president the 4 blocks along 3rd Street to Bedall Street, and then to the town meeting at the hot and stuffy Bardstown High School gym. This is Bud Harbsmeyer reporting from Bardstown.
Over and over again today, the theme of the president was energy. He talked about it to the folks at the Bardstown High School. He's mentioned it in questions and answers as well as in his prepared remarks. And it was, in fact, the theme of his trip. He began it, in fact, in Jefferson County. Before he came here, he was up in the Louisville area to tour the LG&E Cane Run Road power plant. And Kirsty Weil was there.
The president president's helicopter, along with the choppers of the other VIPs and the press, are just now landing for their tour of the LG&E Cane Run Road power plant. They came on a sunny, very hot, fairly clear day with the pollution at only 69 in the moderate range, which is exactly the atmosphere LG&E needs to show off its plant with scrubbers. LG&E is still the biggest polluter in Louisville, and even at this model plant, 3 of the 6 scrubbers are not in compliance with federal regulations on dirt particles being sent up into the air. Action 11's Jeffrey Hutter is inside the plant along with the executives and the workers to greet the president.
President Carter fulfilled his old image when he arrived for the tour. He was all smiles. On the inside, he looked ready for business with his suit coat off and shirt sleeves rolled up. We couldn't tell exactly what the business was. Reporters and photographers were kept far away from the president. LG&E President Robert Royer explained plant operations to Mr. Carter as he looked at the huge turbine generators, then later in one of the control rooms. He came to this plant because it is a coal-burning power plant, fitting in with his emphasis on coal. While touring the plant, President Carter spent nearly all of his time talking with the president of LG&E and Kentucky politicians on the tour, avoiding the workers who keep the plant going around the clock. From what I could see, he talked to only one worker, and that was a very brief conversation.
Oh, he talked about he could operate a nuclear plant, but he didn't know if he could operate a coal plant or not.
And what'd you tell him?
I told him it's probably about the same.
Did he ask you any questions about the operation in here?
No, he didn't ask me.
Did you have anything that you told him or you wanted to tell him you didn't?
No, I just had little butterflies about it.
How did it make you feel overall?
Made me feel good. Being, close to a president, never had been that close to one before. And I was surprised at his size. I thought he was bigger than what he was.
For anybody, a tour of the Cane Run Road power plant would be informational, but it's the kind of information a president could get in a Washington briefing. For Mr. Carter, a big plus in touring this plant today is merely being seen here to show on national news what he's been talking about for some time, a greater commitment to coal as a national energy source. Kirsty?
It was also an opportunity for the president to spread his message that in states like Kentucky, there is plenty of fuel to help make us energy independent of the OPEC oil cartel.
It's absolute folly for the United States to ship billions of dollars overseas each year to bring tankers of foreign oil to our shores, while beneath our feet, in your great state of Kentucky and others, lie more than 300 years of coal reserves just waiting to be mined and waiting to be used.
The president also promised that he will not give up on clean air. He did not say, however, that this plant alone sends 3,000 tons of ash and dirt into the air every year and 250,000 tons of sulfur dioxide, even with the scrubbers.
I will not permit America to be forced to choose between breathing foul air and having our waters filthy on the one hand, or mortgaging our future to the OPEC oil cartel. We don't need to do either one. This plant, burning high sulfur coal cleanly and safely, proves that our country can chart a different course for the future.
And last, the president asked for the workers' help in pressuring Congress to pass his energy programs.
Thank you very much.
The president seemed to have the workers here on his side as he asked for their help to get his energy programs through Congress. He also wants their help in producing the coal that he needs to get more plants like this built and into operation. I'm Kirsty Wild reporting from the Cane Run Road power plant. We'll have more from Action 11 right after this. So the question for Chuck Taylor is, will they get the dry weather?
Okay, it looks like we are going to see a cold front move through, and of course the president was very lucky because he missed out on all those showers and thunder showers around the region. That cold front is just west of here. There are some showers and thunder showers showing up on the action track color radar. It looks like the president once again is going to be lucky. He's going to get out of here before those showers and thunder showers arrive.
It's been a long day for all the White House press corps, all the local reporters, and of course President Carter. His plane is on the runway at Standiford Field at this moment, ready to take off as soon as the helicopter arrives from Bardstown carrying the president. Now let's go back to Jim Mitchell live in Bardstown for reaction to President Carter's town meeting.
Kirsty, the president left just a few minutes ago, so that helicopter will be a few moments getting up to Standiford. I wanted you to meet Gladys Razor. Gladys came all the way up from Bath County. What is that, about 60, 70 miles to see the president?
135.
Round trip, huh?
No.
Oh, the whole way.
No,
Well, okay.
one way.
Now, you were waiting out here to see the president. You got to see him walk by.
Oh, yeah.
And Gladys gave me a little trouble because we had to rope off an area here so we could do our telecast, and she was afraid she couldn't see the president. What happened when he came out,
Oh,
Gladys?
when he came out, well, I was going to shake hands with him, so I had to cut the rope.
Was that necessary?
Oh, no, it wasn't necessary, and I did. I enjoyed it very much.
That's fine.
I think he's a wonderful man. If we, the people of the United States, would only stand behind him.
What did you think of what he had to say that you were listening to on loudspeakers out
We
here?
did. I think that the program that he has is good, and I think that the people of the United States would stand behind our good president, that we would have a good country in which to live.
Well, that's what he was asking for, and that seemed to be the consensus around here. Is that what the rest of you folks seem to feel about President Carter's speech? Most folks seem to be pretty much behind him. Let's come over here just a little bit. I remember talking to you.
Oh,
You
yeah.
waited here all that time. What was your name?
Janet Warner
Where are you from, Janet?
from here at Bardstown.
How did you like what you saw and heard today?
Well, I really enjoy being here, and it's just exciting to see the president come to, such a small town as Bardstown. I think we're all honored to have him here.
If he goes to other town meetings around the country, are you going to feel slighted, or will this still be a pretty big day for your city?
This is the biggest day for us, I think.
How old are you? Can I ask you?
22.
22. So from your age point of view, do you think what he said made sense today?
Yes, I do.
Support his energy program pretty much?
Yes, I do.
Well, thank you very much for talking to us. Thank you to all of you for standing around here and being patient and letting us crowd you out of the way. We hope you all got a chance to shake hands with the president. It has been quite an eventful day. I think the two ladies you just heard summed up the feelings pretty well. The people in Bardstown were truly honored. They didn't ask the president any easy questions. They had tough questions for him, but they listened to his answers, and they were pleased that he took the time to come all the way here from Washington and to give them to them. That's it from Bardstown for now. Of course, we'll have later reports on what happened here at 11 o'clock. And Kirsty, back to you.
Jim, I have one question if you
Yes,
can
ma'am.
hear me.
Okay.
How hot is it out there?
It is really hot. It is so hot. And high humidity, too, but we had a pleasant time anyway.
You have stood up well in that jacket, I must say. Thanks for being with us. CBS News is next. We'll be back at 11 o'clock with all the day's news. Good night.
This is the CBS Evening News.